Greetings. Welcome to GDIC's webinar for the OASIS Plus Phase 2, Human Capital Services domain. This webinar covers both small business and unrestricted tracks for Phase 2, and we are going to discuss the scope of the Human Capital Services domain, the scoring system, compliance, and strategy. My name is Cal, an AI assistant, and I am your host today. With me is Ab Vand, VP for Capture at GDIC and a subject matter expert on self-scoring proposals. Ab will guide you through today's deep dive into the OASIS Plus Phase 2 Human Capital Services domain opportunity. Ab has over 30 years of experience in capture and proposal management. He is considered an expert in self-scoring as well as traditional proposal and capture efforts. Ab has managed over 1,000 successful capture and proposal efforts and is a regular contributor to GovCon magazines. He has also held numerous training webinars for various APMP chapters and Apex offices throughout the US. Before starting, there are a few housekeeping notes I would like to mention. First, this webinar is being recorded and the link to the recording will be sent to you within 24 hours. Second, we will hold a Q&A session at the end. You can send your questions during the webinar by the chat system to the right of your window and Ab will address them at the end. Third, you can download this presentation by clicking on the link under File on the right-hand side panel on your window. We highly recommend you download the slide deck so that you can always refer back to it. So let's see what this webinar covers. We will first give a quick intro to GDI Consulting Services. Then before going into OASIS Plus Phase 2, we will review Phase 1 and then build on that and explain the general information about Phase 2. Then we will have a thorough discussion of the scope of the Human Capital Services domain. Before Ab explains the OASIS Plus scoring system, for those of you who are not familiar with self-scoring evaluation systems, he will quickly explain what this new system is. Then we will deep dive into the scoring system, covering all the aspects involved. Compliance is one of the most important aspects in these types of proposals and Ab will cover it providing guidance and experience. Ab will also touch on teaming which is very important in OASIS Plus. Lastly, we will provide some strategy recommendations and experience sharing and then finish with the Q&A session. So with that, I will now hand over the control to Ab to start the webinar. Ab.
Thank you, Cal, and hello everyone. Thank you for participating in our webinar. We have a lot to cover, so I might be going a little bit too fast. That's why we recommend that you download the slide deck so you can always refer back to it. And of course, you can type in your questions on the chat system and I will answer them at the end. So let's very quickly go over GDIC services and then we can go into the main subject of the webinar. So we've had GDI Consulting has had over 15 years of solid performance with a 98% win rate on OASIS Plus Phase 1. We had 98 clients and 97 of them were awarded. So a 98% win rate. We've had an overall 81% win rate for all agencies, 82% for DoD. And we've had 289 wins in 2024 with $19.6 billion worth of contracts that we got for our clients. I won't go into the details of the rest of these numbers, so you can always refer back to these when you download the presentation. Now, as far as our services are concerned, we have four major areas: proposal development, capture management, support services, and training. In proposal development, we provide eligibility and score assessment before you go into an opportunity, whether you should do it or not, go, no go. Full task order, standalone proposal support, so we can provide any types of proposal, including IDIQ, BPA, and GWAC, government-wide acquisition contracts, meaning multiple agencies can actually put orders on it, under it. All of these we provide proposal support for. For those companies who have their own proposal shop, we provide review services. And then we can also provide them with staff augmentation. So if you're short of any positions like a proposal manager, a technical writer, graphic artist, or whatever, we can provide those positions. In terms of capture management, we have both dedicated long-term or strategic capture, as we call it, or short-term sourcing and qualification capture we do. And then we have special programs for vehicles such as OASIS Plus, GSA Mass, Seaport, and others that we provide task order management, including sourcing and qualification. Finally, our AI enabled capture management platform is called Capture Edge, which is very useful, and a lot of our clients are using it to actually find opportunities, find their competitors, find pricing, and plan and manage their pipelines. Support services, we provide accounting preparations for DCAA or DCMA audits. For those companies who are going after the audit, we help them prepare their accounting system. We provide CMMC certification support for DoD contractors in 2025 going into 2026. It is a must, it's mandatory, so a lot of companies are looking for getting those certifications, and we are helping them on that. Competitive intel, black hat exercise, and then price to win are three other services we provide here. And finally, training, both proposal development, capture management, on a customized basis we provide for companies. Okay, and specific to OASIS Plus Phase 2, we provide free consultation, and by all means use this opportunity, jump on a call with us and we can answer any questions that you have. Pre-qualification assessment, whether you have the minimum requirements or not, full proposal development with a dedicated proposal team. Actually, there are two teams. One prepares the proposal, the second team comes in and reviews it for compliance. And it's an A to Z type of support we provide here on this type of full proposal development. Everything is on us except you provide the documents. That's all. I mean, contract documents and things like that. The other service we provide is reviewing and auditing. For those of you who have your in-house teams, we provide 2 rounds of compliance checks, score optimization checks, and uploading to Symphony, which is GSA's portal for submission. And then we have a service providing tools and support. We provide 7 different tools. Again, for those companies who are doing it themselves, we provide the tools that they need for proposal preparation and compliance checks. And then 2 hours of included consultation or optional additional consultation hours. So these are the services we provide for OASIS Plus Phase 2. Now let's look at Phase 1 first before we go into Phase 2, so we have an understanding of what it is if you're not already familiar with it. So this is by a GSA, but it's a GVAC. It's a multiple award IDIQ GVAC, meaning that all agencies can actually put orders on under GSA, under OASIS Plus. It has an open ceiling, so there's no budget limitation, and there's no minimum or there's no maximum number of awards. It's an unlimited, as long as you have the minimum qualifications and score, which I will go into later in the webinar. You're awarded. Contract duration is 5 years plus 1 additional 5-year option. We are the first rounds, or Phase 1, you could say, is already awarded, but there is an on-ramp coming up, hopefully before September 2025, and those companies who were not on it can actually jump on. And I'm talking about Phase 1, so this is an on-ramp for Phase 1. I'll explain the difference between Phase 1 and Phase 2 later. Now, under Phase 1 and Phase 2, actually, there are 6 different tracks, or you could say contracts. Each company can actually receive 6 different types of contracts. Total small business, 8A, hub zone, STV, OSP, women-owned small business, unrestricted. So these are the different contracts that will be awarded. Obviously, a company might be under many of these. And small businesses can actually go under unrestricted. So a company might actually cover all 6 of these. Now, that's the tracks. Now, in terms of domains or the areas that they cover, there are 8 different domains: technical engineering, management and advisory, research and development, intelligence services, enterprise solutions, facility services, logistics services, and environmental services. Now, the first 3 were in OASIS, and the last 5 were added in OASIS Plus. So OASIS Plus added 5 new domains when it was bidded in 2023, but only the first 3 were in the original OASIS. So these are the domains under, we're talking Phase 1, remember. And this is how it's already been awarded. So 588 unrestricted, 1,375 total small business, 345 STV OSP, 309 WOSP, 181 8A, 131 hub zone. Now, note that these numbers might be a little bit higher as we go along, because GSA is reviewing on a gradual basis all the remaining proposal submissions. There might be a few, so these numbers might change a little bit as we go along. And that total small business is different from the STVOSB Women-Owned Small Business 8A and Hub Zone. A company might go for example, STVOSB and total small business. So you get one under 345 and another one under 1375. Now, some companies are just total small business, so they go for that. Okay, so these are the different the contract awards under. Now I explained on-ramping. So we've heard that before September 2025, the on-ramping season opens, meaning that those companies who were not aware of, or for some reason could not participate in OASIS Plus, we're talking phase 1 again, remember, can actually participate again on the on-ramped season for the 8 domains we discussed. Now, those companies who participated previously but were not awarded for any reason, made mistakes or anything like that, they can participate again. And then some companies might want to enhance their domains, meaning that perhaps they were in 2 domains, but they want to expand to other domains as well. Again, they can do that. So this is a good opportunity for companies who have not been on OASIS Plus, those 8 domains, to actually go for it. And just remember that you should go for it now. Don't wait until September, because there's a lot of work to prepare your submission. We've done 98 of those, so we know. Okay. Now, having said that, let's go into phase 2 then. Now, in phase 2, I want just to answer the questions whether there are any changes from phase 1 to phase 2. Essentially, there are no changes. So the 10-year IDIQ with 5-year base, 5-year option period remains. Task orders are still fixed price, T&M, and cost reimbursable type as in phase 1. Phase 2 uses same contract vehicle structure as phase 1. No budget ceiling, separate awards per socioeconomic categories and business size, as we mentioned. Award pools include unrestricted, small business, 8A, STVOSB, Hub Zone, and WASB, women on small business. Contract allows for integrated multi-domain task order awards. In other words, you can participate in multiple domains. Agencies can use OASIS Plus for nearly any service needed, meaning that once, and I will go into the domains again, we had 8 domains there, 5 new domains are added here. Essentially, OASIS Plus is going to cover every service type available except for construction work and except for pure IT, because technical and engineering domain is very similar to IT, but pure IT, pure programming type work, that goes under IT. So that's why they call OASIS Plus non-IT. But as I said, so except for IT and except for construction, it nearly covers every type of work services. Now, same OASIS Plus terms and contract language applies to phase 2, meaning that all the requirements that were required for the 8 domains in phase 1, they still stand. We'll have to see that they probably will tweak them a little bit here and there for the new domains, but essentially the same requirements and same system. Now, key dates. So the RFI for phase 2 was released on June 17th this year, 2025. Feedbacks are due or were due by July 8th, 2025. Final solicitation is expected in late fiscal year 25, meaning that before September 30th of this year. And it seems that they are on it because there was a lag or a delay about 2-3 months. They were supposed to, for example, issue the on-ramp 2-3 months ago, but they're now on it again. So they're putting out new information, they're putting out RFIs and things like that. So it seems that we will probably see the issuance of the solicitation before end of September. Evaluation process may extend into early or mid 2026 per our experience in phase 1. Rolling awards, they've said that it's going to be a rolling awards, means that decisions may be made in stages as they did in phase 1. So they first provided the awards for total small business, then Hub Zone, and so on. And the last were unrestricted and 8A. And a lot of it also depends on the protest. Awardees join OASIS Plus vehicle for a 10-year ordinary period. So since it's already started, you join it. So if 2 or 3 years have passed, you only will have 7 or 8 years remaining. And then contractors should prepare early to avoid documentation issues, as I mentioned. So there are a lot of forms that you have to sign, and not sign yourself, your contracting officers of the contracts that you submit. So a lot of signatures by contracting officers or primes if you're providing subcontracts and things like that. So don't wait until it's out. Start your proposal preparation now. Okay, going into the transition issue. So a lot of legacy contracts are out there in different agencies, but a lot of them are going to be coming under OASIS Plus. The most significant ones are OASIS itself, which is already being transferred to OASIS Plus, HCATS, and BMO. So agencies are being encouraged by the government to move to OASIS Plus for new awards. Legacy contracts will expire in the coming years. So all the different agencies under the federal government, they used to put out legacy contracts for these similar types of services. They're going to all be compiled under OASIS Plus. That's why OASIS Plus is so important. So they must, contractors on legacy vehicles must requalify under OASIS Plus. So it doesn't mean that if you were on HCAS, for example, and it ends, you are automatically transferred to OASIS Plus. No, you have to actually, submit a proposal under OASIS Plus. If you get awarded, then you can continue on. So human capital domain replaces scope from HCATS. That's one of the domains under phase 2. Admin services from BMO migrates into business administration domain. That's again another domain under phase 2. So legacy holders should prepare for competition in phase 2, meaning that they should actually get on it first and then compete with other companies under OASIS Plus. And don't assume all the awards will roll forward, as I mentioned. You really need to submit a proposal under OASIS Plus. Okay, so the main part of phase 2, or the main thing that it brings, are the 5 new domains. And I wanted to list these here. So there are 5 new domains under phase 2: business administration services, human capital services, financial services, marketing and digital outreach services, and social services. So these 5, together with the other 8 in phase 1, they cover almost all the different types of services that the government needs, except for construction and IT. And in fact, as far as IT is concerned, the domains technical and engineering, research and development, intelligence, cover a lot of IT, and we had a lot of clients who actually were IT companies and were participating in those domains. But overall, you can see that those 8 plus these 5, they cover almost all the needs of the government in terms of services. That's why OASIS Plus is so important. Now that by the Trump administration's new policies, GSA is going to be used more and more in terms of acquisition. So you can see that the importance that OASIS Plus is receiving, and we're going to see a lot of task orders under OASIS Plus phase 1 and phase 2 domains. So each domain has its unique NAICS codes and qualification requirements. I've said TBD, but because they have not issued how the scoring works under each of these 5, but based on the scoring system that is for the other 8 in phase 1, and since the contract is going to be the same, we are going to see the same requirements. Essentially, maybe the points here and there are a little bit different, but essentially the same system, and we'll see that in a minute when I go over the scoring system. And you as a contractor can actually submit for one or more domains. So you might go for all of these 5 domains or just one of them. Each of them requires a separate submission, a separate proposal, but you are allowed to submit under all of them or just one. Okay, so let's now deep dive into the human capital services domain and see what its scope and other related information are. So as far as the scope is concerned, I'll read off this very quickly, but these are the different types of work that would be required under the human capital and workforce services domain. So career development and coaching, compensation and benefits management, comprehensive background and suitability investigations, customized human capital training and development solutions, employee and labor relations, employee engagements, employee misconduct remediation, executive leadership programs, human resource transformation, human capital knowledge management, organizational performance improvement in terms of human capital, performance management, position classification, retirement planning and processing, that's a big one, security clearance processes, talent management, temporary help services, unemployment insurance claims, work schedule and leave administrations, workers' compensation, workforce analysis, development and planning, and finally payroll administration and advisory services. So all these that I mentioned are the scope of the human capital and workforce services domain. Now let's look at the NAICS code. Why are the NAICS code are listed here and why are they important? So you will see later on that you're supposed to provide 5 contracts in the context of OASIS Plus. They're called qualifying projects or QPs. So 5 QPs you need to provide 5 contracts. Now, if these contracts have any of these listed NAICS codes, you don't have to provide any other proof as far as relevance is concerned, because obviously you can't submit a construction project for human capital. You have to have some sort of a relevance. So relevance is proven through NAICS code. If your contract has this NAICS code, then you don't need to provide any other proof. Now, these are for federal contracts that you bring to the table. If you're bringing in a subcontract, which is allowed, or you're using a commercial contract, which is allowed, and by commercial, I also mean state and local, and then you have to, there is a form that comes with the RFP called JP3. You fill it out, you send it to the contracting officer of that contract, or if it's a prime contract, if it's a federal contract but doesn't have the proper NAICS code on it, or if you're using a subcontract, you have to send it to your prime, or if you're using any commercial contracts, then you need to send it to the client. They have to sign it, send it back to you, and then you submit that as proof of relevance. So the good thing about having the proper NAICS is that you don't have to go through this. You don't have to chase these contracting officers, primes, and commercial clients. All you have to do is show that your contract had the proper NAICS code. That's why NAICS codes are important. And there are 11 of them that can be used. If your contract has any of these NAICS codes on it, you're good to go. You don't have to prove relevance in any other way. Okay, and then question is this: who should participate? Which type of companies should participate in the OASIS Plus Phase 2 Human Capital and Workforce Services domain? So HR consulting firms, obviously, with prior federal experience, training vendors offering federal focused curriculum or coaching, consultants experienced in DEIA and workforce planning, firms who worked under HCAS and want to transition. As I mentioned, HCAS is moving into OASIS Plus. Staffing providers familiar with USA jobs and federal hiring, organizational development specialists with past OPM work, workforce data analytics companies with HRIS integration, veteran-owned firms with experience in leadership training, small 8A firms with professional development capabilities, and JVs focused on talent modernization and HR transformation. So all these different types of services, HR services, so to say, or human capital services companies can actually participate. Okay, so I'm going to describe and explain the scoring system under OASIS Plus, but for those of you who are not familiar with self-scoring evaluation that GSA is using, I want to very, very quickly, in just one slide actually, go over what this is, because OASIS Plus is a self-scoring type proposal. So essentially, there are the traditional type proposals and there are the self-scoring proposals, or traditional evaluation systems by the government and self-scoring evaluation. In the traditional type work, you prepared your proposal writing towards different things, like you had usually a technical volume, you have a management volume perhaps, you have a past performance volume, and everything is you write about it. So you write about your past performance, past experience, you write about your technical capabilities and your management capabilities. But in self-scoring proposals, it doesn't work like that. So the way it works is very simplified. In a simplified way is like this. You score yourself based on a set score table that the government provides. You score yourself, and then you provide documentation to prove that you scored yourself correctly. And that's it. So there is no writing involved. You score yourself and then provide just official documentation to prove that you actually scored yourself properly. So the process worked like this. The RFP stage, as far as the government is concerned, they issue an RFP that spells out how they will score the contractor's experience and past performance and other capabilities. So they say, hey, if you have, for example, a contract that is over $10 million, you get 2 points. If you have, for example, top secret facility clearance, you get 5 points, things like that. So they actually spell out the scoring system, what score you get for what type of capability. And then in the second part of their RFP, they explain or spell out how you're supposed to prove your claim, because I might claim that I have top secret, but what's the proof? So you have to provide some sort of a proof. Or I might claim the score for a $10 million contract, but how do I prove it? So you actually provide documentation alongside that scoring that proves that you deserve that point. And these documentations are usually the award document, a printout of the FPDS, printout of that contract, the CPARs for that contract, and things like that. Everything official, nothing writing. So you can't write something and say, hey, I testify that I had a contract for $10 million. You have to actually submit the contract award document or something like that. So that's what the government does in the RFP. How they're going to score you, how you're supposed to provide proof for it. Then what you do as a contractor, once you receive the RFP, you assess yourself and see if you have the minimum qualifications, because they list out the minimum qualifications. You do a gap analysis on your experience and your past performance and your company's capabilities and find out whether you should go for it or not. And sometimes you might need a partner, a teaming partner, to actually bring in and increase your score using that. And then once you decide to go for it, you start preparing your proposal. And preparing your proposal means you assess yourself, find out your score, best score, and then you start providing those documents that I said. It's called substantiation. You substantiate your score, so you provide proof documents to show that you deserve those points. And that's essentially your proposal, putting together all the documents in the proper way. There's a lot of highlighting and tagging using sticky notes on PDF and things like that. But everything is done on official documentation. And then you submit usually through Symphony, which is GSA's official portal. And that takes time. We've done this a lot of times. It's not a copy-paste. It's usually 2-3 days worth of submission of your proposal. But that's the process. The important thing is that there's no writing involved. There's a lot of analytics, juggling of different things, because there are different score factors you have to consider to decide which contracts to use. A lot of document management, proper document naming, highlighting, things like that. That's what is called self-scoring evaluation. I'm not going to go into the details why the government is using it, but the thing is that it takes much less time from the government, because say forget about OASIS Plus, which there's no limits, but for example, take Alliant 3. Alliant 3, they were going to pick 76 companies. Now, usually, say 500 companies submit their proposals, and the government has to go through 500 different proposals and subjectively review them, score them, and provide maybe each proposal is 50 pages or 100 pages sometimes. It's a huge work for the government. But when it's a self-scoring type work, like it's in Alliant 3, all that the government does is they're not going to look at the 500 proposals. They're going to pick the top, in terms of the score, 76, because they're going to award 76. So they pick the top 76, review those. If they're good to go, if the documentation is proper, they're awarded. So they're not going to look at the 400 and something remaining proposals. So you can see the huge amount of work that is removed from their table. Obviously, it falls on us as contractors to actually prepare it, but that's why they're using this self-scoring system. Okay, we're done with self-scoring. Let's jump into the OASIS Plus scoring system now. Okay, so as you remember, I said that the scoring system or the self-scoring system works on scores. So for OASIS Plus, there's a maximum score of 50. It doesn't matter whether you're a small business or large, 50 is the maximum you can get. Now, if you're a small business, if you're above 36 points, if you can get 36 points or above, you're awarded. So it doesn't matter if you get 36 or if you get 49 or 50, it doesn't matter. There's no difference. As long as you're above 36, you're awarded. And then for large business, unrestricted, you have to be above 42. One of the domains, enterprise solutions, you need to be above 45, but for the rest, it's 42. Now, what I forgot to mention right from the beginning, what I'm explaining here is for the 8 domains. It's not for phase 2 domains, but remember, as I mentioned, the structure of the contract will remain the same. So this will be the same within the new 5 domains as well. Now, there might be a little bit difference in specific point scores, but everything essentially, as far as the general idea, is the same. Now, how are these scores made? There are 3 factors. We call them score factors that build up your score. Qualifying projects, those 5 contracts that I mentioned, they're called QPs. So you need 5 qualifying projects or QPs. You can provide 4, you can provide 3, but if you don't provide 5, you will not get enough points to get above 36 or above 42 for large businesses. Then you have the second score factor, which is called Federal Experience Project, or FEP, FEP. And then you have the third one is systems, clearances, and certifications about your company. These are some of the certifications, like, I'll show you in a minute what they are. But these 3 QPs, FEPs, and systems and certs build up your points to be above, say, 36 or above 42. Now, the 5 qualifying projects, QPs, the first score factor, they give a maximum of, they range differently between different domains. And remember, I'm talking about the 8 domains right now. The government has not issued what the scoring system for phase 2 are. So they give between 35 to 45 points. That's 70 to 90% of the score if you're a small business, and 34 to 44 points, or 68 to 88% for large businesses, depending on the domain. The range is because of the domain. Meaning, what I mean here is that the QP factor is the most important. Some of our clients got all their points from QPs, and they got 0 under FEP, and they got 0 under systems and certifications. But their contracts, those 5 contracts, were so good that they got above 36 or they got above 42. So as you can see, I want to emphasize the selection of those 5 contracts is the most critical and most important thing. And it will be the same for phase 2 domains that we will be seeing. So let's start looking at the numbers. So we are now looking at the QP subfactor. QP was qualifying projects, 5 contracts. This table is for small businesses. It shows you under each of the 8 domains how many points you get. So, and remember, it's for 5 contracts. You don't multiply this by 5. You divide this by 5 to get the number per contract. So QP relevance, remember that NAICS code I mentioned, it falls here. So to be relevant, The contract must have been performed within the past 5 years or be ongoing with 6 months of performance. But also, it must have that NAICS code, or you have to get that form filled and signed by the contracting officer. Also, there is a value attached. Now, the value for most of these, and we are talking small business, is $500,000 annual value. Meaning that if you have a contract for $2 million, but it's for 5 years, that's, if you divide 2 million by 5, that's $400,000. You can't use that contract. But if you have a contract that is only $600,000 for 1 year, that's acceptable. That can be used. So 500K annual value, except for facility and environmental, which were $250,000. Now, this is one of the factors that we'll have to see the government, how the government will assign for the 5 new domains, whether they're going to be 500K or they're going to be 250, for example. Okay, QP scale. I will go into the details of these later, but QP scale, meaning that how many FTEs you used in that contract, or if the value of the contract was over, say, not 500K annual, but $1 million or $5 million and things like that. So if the value is larger, you get a few points extra. Integrated experience, whether, for example, you've used that contract that we're talking about 5 contracts, remember? That contract actually covered other domains as well. You get extra points. And then going down to QP management and staffing, again, the number of staff that you've used, whether they had security clearance, things like that. I will go into details of this later. You get points there. And then past performance, you get 3 points if you have, if all 5 contracts that you're bringing to the table have past performance better than satisfactory. So these are the different types of scoring that you can see. So if you look at the bottom, the total QP, out of the 50, you can see most of them are above 40. So 41 for T&E, M&A 41, R&D 35 is small, Intel 41, facility 45, environmental 43, logistics 42. So if, as I mentioned, you might actually get above 36 with just the QP factors if you have good contracts. So these are the QP factors under small business. Now, let's go to the other 2 factors. So remember, we had one is if for each task order that you have performed under a multiple award IDIQ, and here F stands for federal, FEP, federal experience project. So you cannot use commercial contracts, but in QPs, sorry, I forgot to mention, in QPs you can actually use subcontracts or commercial contracts. Here it has to be a prime federal contract. So if you have a task order under a multiple award IDIQ and you were the prime on that, not the sub, prime, you get 1 point. So you can have up to 4 contracts, you get 4 points. And then if you covered, if you can prove that you have worked with 3 agencies, doesn't matter which 3 agencies, 3 federal agencies, you get 1 extra point. So that 1 on the second line, or FEP multiple federal agency is for this. Now going to systems and certs, you get points for accounting system, you get points for facility clearance, you get points for sustainability. You don't get points, sorry. That sustainability is only for large businesses. And we are discussing small business. And then other certifications like ISO 27001 and things, or CMMI or things like that. You get points for, and you can see that the number of points that you get is much smaller here, 4, 4, 4, 6, 3, 4, compared to, for example, those 40, above 40 points that you got for QPs. So these are the systems, and then the same system stands for unrestricted. The numbers are a little bit different maybe. Remember, most of these were above 40 here. There are 39, 39, 34. But essentially, based on the same criteria, the numbers are a little bit different. So we are going to see the same situation with the 5 new domains, both for small business and large. They're going to spell out how this scoring works. But essentially, it will be very, very similar to what we are seeing right now with these 8 domains. Okay, so now the new domains obviously don't have their scoring system and requirements set yet, but they will be very similar to phase 1 domains. So I have included in the slide deck, which I recommend that you download, a scoring system for the technical and engineering domain. I have gone into the details of this now. What are the specific details requirements? This will give you an idea of what you are up against and the complexities of this self-scoring contract. But since we have a lot to cover and we are short of time, I will skip this in the webinar. But as I said, you can refer back to this in the presentation slide deck. Okay, let's discuss compliance. Compliance is one of the most important parts in your preparation of the submission and proposal, because of the way the evaluation system is working, which means the self-scoring type. The government's first line of defense, so to say, is compliance. Compliance both in form and format, as well as in content. So you must really pay attention to all compliance issues, and I will try to show you why it is so important. Let's take the case of GSA HCATS, which was bidded about a few years ago. And this clearly shows what I'm talking about. It's both the left-hand side graph is for small business and right-hand side is large business. The orange color is the number and percentage of submissions that were eliminated, put aside due to being non-compliant. So you can see, for example, for small business, nearly 70% of the submissions were eliminated for being non-compliant. And look at for large business, even large businesses who usually have much more proficient proposal teams, they got 49%, nearly 50% eliminated due to being non-compliant. So compliant is a really important issue when you're preparing your proposal, and I can't underemphasize this issue. Now, some of the most common compliance issues, misunderstanding the requirements and its consequences, including over-scoring yourself. So, claiming some score, thinking that that is correct because you didn't understand the sections L and M properly and the forms and everything. Contracts used as QPs and not being entirely relevant. Problems in annual value calculations, past performance ratings, and flat out irrelevant content for the domain or relevant content for the domain having minimal values in the contract. Meaning that you cannot use a contract that is, I'm exaggerating, is for construction, but it has a part that does some sort of a technical and engineering, and then use that contract for technical and engineering. What I'm explaining all lie with phase 2 as well, but I'm just giving examples that I've seen people trying to do. So there are some minimum factors involved for the 5 QPs that you bring in, how old it is, what's the annual value. Remember, it was 500K in most domains for small businesses, 1 million for large businesses. Past performance ratings. I did mention that the average rating for each contract must be above, not equal to, above satisfactory. And then irrelevant content, not having the proper NAICS code, and then trying to reason out why it's relevant and that sort of thing. Incomplete substantiation in general. Now, you deserve the points, you have actually performed that contract, everything is okay, but you don't provide the correct documentation in the proper way, with emphasis in the proper way, because you might even provide the documentation. If you don't highlight it properly, if you don't tag it, name it properly. So both in format and in content, you really have to provide your substantiation documents properly. Contracts not having proper signature, NAICS, or PSCs. I've seen that as well. For example, I've seen award documents that weren't signed, and our client thought that that was enough. So they had to rush at the last minute to get it signed again, or find a signed version of the contract award. Many times you're so happy when you receive the contract, you don't look at the place where it's supposed to be signed by the contracting officer, or the proper NAICS code or PSCs, all these. So we really have to show them properly in our submission. And then not submitting the proposal correctly to Symphony. As I said, Symphony is the government's online portal. And if you do not submit properly, you will not get the proper points. If, for example, you have the documents, but you don't submit them properly, the government at the end of the day does not receive the substantiation documents, the proof documents, and you lose points. So and that's why I said submitting to Symphony takes usually 2 to 3 days with all the compliance checks and reviews to ensure that your documentation is there properly. So these are some of the common compliance issues. Of course, there are a lot. I just did not want to go into a lot of detail. I just want to emphasize the importance of compliance for you. That's why we create a lot of checklists when we prepare our submission. So this is one of the checklists, for example, we used on OASIS Plus. These checklists ensure that for each point factor, you are actually providing the documentation. Sometimes for one point factor, you must provide 3 or 4 different documents. And then once the document is there, the tick marks that you're seeing is what is on the document and whether it has been highlighted and tagged, meaning a sticky note on PDF. So the company name, for example, up at the top, the company name is there. It has a tick, meaning that it's highlighted and tagged. Contract number highlighted and tagged. Agency or company name, if it's a subcontract, is highlighted and tagged. Again, for relevance, for example, the pop start, pop end, contract amount, annual value, NAICS code, all of these must have been tagged. So you need these types of checklists to make sure that you really provide all the information that is needed to get your points. Okay, so that was a short discussion of compliance. Again, I don't want to overemphasize it, but it's really important. Now let's talk about teaming, which is also important. Now, why is teaming important? It's because, look at that general rule. It says you can use a partner, meaning by partner, I mean either a prime sub agreement or a joint venture agreement. You'll see that you can use a partner's past performance for both QPs and FEPs. So around 92% for small businesses and 88% for large businesses to some extent can be used by the partner's contracts. What I mean is that there is no restriction as to the number of contracts of the 5 contracts or the FEPs that you bring from your partners. I mean, you can even have, all 5 coming from your partners, all 5 QPs. So that's why it's really important to understand the importance of teaming, whether it's joint venture or prime sub agreements, in that at the end of the day, the government is going to look at your score, whether it's 36 or above, or whether it's 42 or above for large businesses. And if you're not there, best way to get there is to bring in a partner. There's nothing against that. No points are extracted from you because you have brought a partner. So by all means, use a partner. Now, you must understand also that we have a strategy, we call it cushion points. I said that you have a minimum of 36 for small businesses and 42 for large businesses. But you don't want to be right at, there, right at 36, right at 42. You want a few more points, we call them cushion points, because at the end of the day, you don't know how the government is going to like this or that, point that you have claimed. you want a few cushion points. So even if the government deducts a few points from you, you're still above the minimum threshold. That's why, again, sometimes you might by yourself be at 36, but it would be good to bring in a partner and add 2 or 3 points, those cushion points, just to make sure that you actually get awarded on that contract. Now, there are some restrictions. The most important one is that a company can prime in one submission and then be part of a team in another, but the restriction is that you can't use the same contract if the domain and the track are similar in 2 different submissions. And emphasis is on that and. So say your company A, you're submitting solo and you're using this contract, contract X. You're submitting for 8A T&E. Now, you create another company comes in and says, hey, I'm short of a contract. Can you be sub to me? You say yes. You use the same contract that you submitted yourself for T&E, but you submitted under 8A. If they submit under STVOSB, no problem. The only restriction is that both of you submit under the same domain and same track. If the domains are different or if the tracks are different, you're good to go. You can do it. That's why a lot of teaming happened in phase 1. Companies who had, say, who were strong in one domain, for example, but had 1 or 2 contracts in another domain, they teamed up with other companies with the same problem. So one company was strong in T&E, the other company was strong in management and management, and they teamed together. And this way, they call it over and under. So that sort of agreement is possible, and you should use it by all means. Okay. Now there are some restrictions specific to mentor-protege JVs. So for mentor-protege, not for JVs, but for mentor-protege JVs, at least one of the QPs must come from the protege. So you have 5 QPs. You can't have a situation in which all the 5 are coming from the mentor. So at least one of the contracts must be coming from the protege. But the good thing is that all the contracts that the protege brings to the table, the value is half. So, for example, remember that the annual value for the QPs was 500K, say for T&E. If the mentor's contracts must have that minimum annual value, but the protege's contracts can have minimum value of 250K or above. So the protege's contracts can all be half. The same thing stands for FTEs. For example, one of the requirements is that how many people you used in the contract, and you get points for it. If you had more than 5 or more than 10 or more than 15. Now, if the if that contract belongs to the protege, and you would usually get 1 point if it's over 10 FTEs. For the protege contract, you would get 1 point if the number of FTEs was over 5. So again, the numbers are half. And remember that this same rule applies for unrestricted as well. So if a mentor protege is participating in an unrestricted track, again, instead of $1 million annual value limitation, all the contracts that come from the protege can be above 500K. So those are the rules for the mentor protege. At least one must come from the protege, but they are halved in terms of the requirement of the value and FTE. Okay, one last thing about partnering and teaming is that we have created a free portal for this same requirement. So, and you can see the URL at the bottom of the screen. You can go in there, you can register yourself. Once you're reviewed and your registration is okay, then you can reach out to any company you like. So it's free. You go there. Hundreds of companies are already on that, and you can communicate directly through the website, or actually, we can get each other's emails and communicate outside. It's up to you. But companies are categorized there by domain, by set aside, all of that. So you can actually use that, find companies and try to, find subs if you're looking for subs, or the other way, if you're looking for primes, again, you can do it. So that's a good thing. And this is the first, the homepage of that website. for partnering on OASIS Plus that you can use. Okay, lastly, strategy and experience sharing. So as I said, we've done 98. We had 98 clients, 97 of them won. So let's discuss the experience that we gained and the strategies we recommend. So this is perhaps the most important opportunity for many businesses for their next 10 years of business, especially for services, obviously. And as I mentioned, it nearly covers everything except construction and IT, and a little bit of IT actually under T&E and R&D and even intelligence. But the thing is that considering the new administration's policies and the emphasis on the use of GSA contracts, and GSA being the portal or the hub for acquisition, OASIS Plus has gained even more importance. So a lot of agencies, other agencies will be putting their requirements under task orders under OASIS Plus. So it's really important to get on it. Now, get on it for the 8 previous phase 1 or actually for the phase 2 domains that we discussed. There's no competition, as I mentioned, so use all means possible to win a seat, including partnering with other partners, either as a prime or sub, but just have your foot in the door somehow. Expand on domains. If you have past performance in any domains other than your main domain, but not the required 5 QPs, don't relent. Use partners and expand your grasp by going after multiple domains. This holds true for both small businesses and large businesses and the tracks. Meaning that maybe your company is essentially a R&D company, for example, but 2 or 3 of your contracts are T&E as well, technical and engineering. Find a company to sub you. Use there are 2 other contracts or 2 companies actually. You can bring in as many partners as you like, and build up those 5 QPs for T&E. So in the future, you can actually bid on T&E contracts as well once you're awarded. For small businesses, don't stick to just your own set-aside track. First of all, you should also go for the total small business track. Total small business is a different track compared to 8A Hub Zone WOSB and STV OSB. So even if you're, say, on a Hub Zone contract, you cannot bid on those contracts that are specific to total small business. The contracts I mentioned, I meant task orders. So once you're awarded on a Hub Zone contract and you start receiving task orders, you cannot bid on those task orders that come under total small business. So all small businesses of specific set-aside must, this is obviously a recommendation, go for the total small business track as well. And then if you have the QPs, by all means go for the others. So a company might go for 8A Hub Zone and WOSB, that's fine. Or any combination. Don't be overconfident. Self-scoring proposals are all about analytical thinking. I did not go into very details of what are the requirements, but sometimes, for example, when you're picking your contracts, sometimes usually everybody wants to pick the largest contract. That's not the case here. Sometimes a smaller contract might give you a higher score. I did give an example. For example, say you have a contract that is $5 million, but for 10 years, and you're an unrestricted company. So $5 million divided by 10 comes to $500,000 annually. This is not relevant. This is not considered relevant because it's below the minimum $1 million. Whereas you might have a contract that is just $1.2 million, compared with that $5 million contract. But this is for 1 year, so it's relevant. So sometimes smaller contracts will actually give you a higher score than larger contracts. Sometimes the contract is small but has a large number of FTEs, or it covers multiple domains, or different things like that. So there's a lot of analytical thinking that needs to go in there to actually pick the best score and maximize your score. So, and as I mentioned, there is nothing, no writing involved in OASIS or self-scoring proposals as a whole in general. So good writing skills, which is the key strength of us proposal managers, is of no help here. Analytical thinking and a lot of document management. That's why we recommend you outsource if you've not done this before. We saw a lot of companies. I personally did a lot of reviews for companies who were doing it in-house, and since they were not proficient at self-scoring proposals, if they had not asked us to review it, they would for sure be put aside, found non-compliant. So make sure that you outsource this process if you've not done this before. And if you've done it before, by all means, get it reviewed by an outside source just to make sure and remember those compliance issues I mentioned. Now, focus on your QPs. They are the driving factor. So don't fret about not having this or that systems and certifications, or not having the FEPs, federal experience projects. That's not the case. If you have five good QPs, you can actually get above 36 or above 42, in fact. So concentrate there, and then once you're happy there, then move to the others. I saw many companies, for example, what they did was that they brought in their own QPs. They put a lot of emphasis on that and finalized that. And then they found one or two subcontractors, for example, that would give them FEPs. So that's another strategy. Maximize your score. Use a per contract scoring system to see what your score looks like. Now, a per contract scoring system, we have a tool for it. You might be able to actually create one in-house. It's essentially the function is this. You want to score each contract independently and then compare the scores of the different contracts and then pick the best 5. That's how it works. If below the threshold, 36 for small business, 42 for unrestricted, select a partner as soon as possible. Companies are already teaming up, so you need to hurry. Now, a lot of companies have already teamed up for phase 1. They probably cannot use their contracts. Sometimes if it's a different track or different domain, they can use it. But I mean, don't wait until phase 2 comes out and then try to find teaming partners. You'll have a very, very hard time. I've seen this before. Ensure that you have 4 to 5 cushion points, as I mentioned, or at least 3 or 4 cushion points above 36 or 42, even if you have a partner, even if you have to get a partner, I mean. So those cushion points are important. That's what I meant. I explained it, meaning that if the government finds fault with some of the claim points that you have provided, and you lose 1, 2, 3 points, you're still above 36 or 42, and that's why you will be awarded. Maximize the use of your subcontracts and or commercial contracts if you have any. There's nothing against using all 5 QPs being commercial. There's no problem. At the end of the day, the government just looks at the numbers, just looks at the score, and you get the same score if you use commercial contracts. So by all means, maximize your use. Check compliance, think compliance, and eat compliance. So emphasizing compliance again. And don't lose time. Time is of essence. Believe me, the 90 days that the RFP provides, the previous one provided 90 days for submission is way, way, way too short. Start yesterday. We've seen this before because you have to get a lot of signatures, a lot of clarifications from your contracting officers, from your clients, if you're using subcontracts, from the primes or commercial clients. And those are slow processes. Compliance takes time as well. So these are my recommendations. Now, I do want to give you this idea as well. The way we actually prepare our proposals within GDI Consulting is that these are the phases we go through. We have a phase for contract selection and score optimization, and partnering falls here too. So we try to find which contracts for our clients are the best and how to optimize the score. And then we recommend, for example, whether they should go ahead, in fact, a go, no go at the end of this phase, or if they want to continue, they should actually find a partner to boost their score. So that's the first phase, and the graph at the bottom, you can see 50% of the time and resources is allocated to that first phase, contract selection and score optimization. Then we have the second phase, which is a proposal preparation phase. So we put together the documents, the 5 QPs, the FEPs, the system and certification documentation. We highlight them, we tag them, sticky notes on the PDF. We change the names and go through all the processes to prepare them. Then that usually takes 25% of the time and resources. Then 20% of time and resources goes to compliance reviews. At least 2 rounds of compliance reviews. Now, previously, at least what we do compliance reviews and reviews within the first phase and the second phase. So both in selection and in preparation of the documentation, we do review it. But we have a second team, a review and compliance team, comes in the third phase and starts reviewing and going back and forth with our initial team, with our main proposal management team, to make sure that everything is checked and is okay. And finally, you have a 5% time and resource allocation for uploading to Symphony. Usually takes 2 or 3 days. Don't underestimate this. I've seen mistakes being done there. So again, we also do pre-upload reviews and post-upload reviews. It's really needed. Okay, so that was the workload split, in case you want to do it or you wanted to know how it works. How we can help you on this, I think I went over this for phase 2, how we can provide support. Free consultation, pre-qualification assessment, we can provide full proposal development A to Z for you. All you have to do is provide the documentation to us for your contract. And not just, we don't ask you to pick the best 5. You just say you have 15 contracts. You upload all the 15 contracts. We'll go through them and find the best 5. And then tell you what is missing. If you need signatures, we prepare the forms. So everything is on us. Or if you're doing it in-house, we do review and auditing for you, 2 rounds of compliance checks, score optimization, and uploading to Symphony. We help you. And then some companies would need tools and support. We can do that as well. 7 different tools. I showed you one sample of the checklist that we use for compliance, 2 hours of consultation, and optional additional consultation hours. And here's our contact information. If you want to contact us, email and phone, please email us. It's much better. You can get a hold of us. And by all means, use this opportunity to jump on a call, free consultation calls, and we can discuss your specific needs in more detail. Okay, so we've reached the Q&A, and I can see that there are a lot of questions that you've posed. Okay, so as usual, I talked too much and we're short of time. So let me answer a few questions and then I'll respond by email to all your questions. Also, if you're unable to download the presentation slide deck, just say so on the chat system and we'll send you the slide deck by email. So let's start with a question from Steve. We are a hub zone company. If we are using subs for this opportunity, does the sub have to be hub zone as well? Also, can we use a large business as our sub? Okay, Steve, so the answer for your first question as far as the sub is concerned, no, it doesn't have to be a hub zone. So if you're a hub zone, your sub do not need to have the same set aside. But, and to answer your second question, your sub must be small. So they can be total small business, just, or 8A or a hub zone even, or women owned, any of those is acceptable. But they cannot be a large business. If your sub is a large business, then your submission is considered an unrestricted submission, a large submission. So you have to go over 42 points instead of 36. Okay, question from Mark. What is the relationship between HCATS and OASIS Plus? Okay, so HCATS was originally for training as well as all the staffing and human capital needs of the government, put out by GSA. Now they've said that they're adding the same material for human capital to OASIS Plus. So in the future, if they want to actually extend HCATS, human capital will not be part of it. And I suspect that they will not renew HCATS again. So essentially, you're seeing HCATS being, becoming part of OASIS Plus as we go on in phase 2. Question from James. Can we use our ongoing contracts? Of course. So you can use your ongoing contracts, but they must have 6 months of performance. So you say the RFP is released today, you cannot use a contract that you got a month ago or 2 months ago. The start of the period of performance must have been 6 months before the release of phase 2 RFP. Okay, question from Andrea. We have worked with a lot of state and local agencies. Can we use these contracts for QPs and FEPs for HR services? Yes, you can, because as I said, the type of contracts that you bring to the table can be federal, they can be subcontracts to prime federal contractors, or they can be commercial. As far as the government is concerned, GSA is concerned, state and local governments are considered commercial contracts. Okay, but it is allowed, and you don't lose any points or anything like that. So by all means, use those. But do remember that you can only use them for QPs, for the 5 qualifying projects. You cannot use them for FEPs, because as the name stands, Federal Experience Project. Local and state government agencies are not considered federal contract agencies, so you can't use these contracts for FEPs. Okay, question from Joe. Why do you say we should start now when the RFP will be released in September? Good question. So the problem is that the selection of the contracts and the paperwork will take a huge time. We've done this before. As I said, we did this for 98 companies. You will need to get a lot of signatures. Whether your contracts are from the federal government, then you have to chase the contracting officers. If your contracts are subcontracts, then you have to chase your primes. And if you're using commercial or state and government type work, then again, you have to chase those people. You have to get the JP3 signed. You have to get the JP6 form signed in lieu of CPARs, especially if you're not doing federal. If it's a subcontract or if it's a commercial contract, you need to have something in lieu of CPARs, because CPARs is only for federal contracts. So a lot of paperwork is needed. So that's why most companies who are successful in OASIS Plus Phase 1, they started 3-4 months, sometimes 6 months before, and got everything they needed by the time the RFP dropped, and then they started. One other thing that you need to do also is to find partners if need be, or actually, first do an assessment, create a gap analysis and find out where your gaps are, and then bring in partners. And you cannot wait until the RFP drops. When the RFP drops, all the teamings have been done already. So you won't find the proper partner. So these are the reasons you should start today or yesterday, as I said. I also see a lot of questions about sales and services. Those I will email you directly. But yes, as I mentioned, we can support you fully on preparing this proposal for you. Okay, so we are past our allocated time. So I would like to first apologize for not being able to answer all the questions. I see there are still remaining. I will certainly respond by email. Also, thank you for participating in our webinar. And I look forward to seeing you in our future webinars as well. Have a wonderful day.